When Tom broke off the engagement with Fiona and me, everyone in our circle thought it was a joke. I was the high and mighty girl. Fiona, on the other hand, came from an average background, with nothing special in terms of education, the type we all tend to look down on in our crowd. They said I loved Tom for years but couldn't win against a girl from a small, unknown place. They must have forgotten that in high circles, strong unions are never in shortage. Tom and I had an arranged marriage since childhood. Our families have been friends for generations, with countless connections dating back to my great-grandfather. Family-wise, he couldn't find anyone better than me. I finished my Harvard Business School program in 3 years, so talent-wise, I was top-notch too. Our engagement was supposedly made in heaven. So, when Fiona showed up next to Tom, I wasn't worried at all. She wasn't as pretty as me, didn't have the family or the education I had. I'd seen plenty like her. But I never anticipated Tom to be so blind, breaking the engagement publicly and leaving with Fiona. I stood on stage, becoming the focus, catching unwanted whispers. Nina's all high and mighty but couldn't keep her man, someone said. Serves her right. I never liked her arrogance. A girl chimed in, yeah, thinking she's all that because she's a rich girl with looks and a decent college. Now look at her, payback. I coldly glanced at them, my posture straight. So what if the fiancé ran off with another woman on engagement day, right? But if I just sat back and took it, I couldn't respect myself. So when Jason approached, suggesting vengeance, I agreed without a second thought. Jason was Tom's nemesis, and as they say, an enemy's enemy is a friend. I smiled, locking my fingers with his. If one fiancé is gone, we can always find another. Strong alliances are, after all, plentiful in upper society. Jason and Tom were polar opposites. Tom was the kid everyone envied, always perfect and number one in high school, staying in the country and entering the best university. Jason was also the kid everyone knew, for his disciplinary files, truancy, and fights as if they were part of a daily routine. Even after mending his ways and becoming a CEO in under a year, he was often cited as a bad example due to his wild past. Out of nowhere, he produced a ring, slipped it onto my ring finger. Jason was a bit silly, though, who puts an engagement ring on a ring finger? But in this chaos, it was the least of my worries. Surprisingly, the ring fit perfectly. Jason was taller by a head, looking at me with a mischievous glint in his eyes. Nina, looking forward to working with you, he said. I didn't back down, smiling right back, of course, my partner. Once the engagement ceremony was over, I lifted the hem of my dress, noticing my heels had rubbed my feet raw. These shoes were Tom's pick, 10 centimeters tall and half a size smaller than my usual. I hid it and walked on as if nothing happened. Jason blocked me, shoes that don't fit? Why keep them? Mind your own business, I snapped, feeling exposed. He leaned in slightly, our eyes locked, barely an inch apart. I wasn't used to this, frowning as I took a step back. Unexpectedly, he wrapped an arm around my waist, lifting me off the ground. I gasped, holding his neck, Jason. What are you doing? With a sly smile, he said, since you can't bear to part with them, I'll help. He set me on the sofa in a luxurious hotel suite, a gift from his parents on his 18th birthday. I remembered the time I'd been here, soaked to the bone from rain after a fight with Tom. Jason cheekily quipped, Nina got caught in the rain, I see. Now, he was on one knee, taking off my heel, slipping on another pair, pale pink with tiny crystals. They fit perfectly. He tossed my old heels straight into the trash, which I didn't stop him. Strangely satisfying. But no way I'd show my satisfaction. Walking on my new heels, I quipped, these shoes aren't from another woman, right? With a teasing flick on my forehead, he replied, silly. Ouch, it hurt. This guy. No gentleness. My dad was thoroughly unimpressed with Jason, yelling, absurd. Utterly absurd. Jason took it like a pro, nodding respectfully, pretending to be a good boy. Halfway through the scolding, Jason's dad showed up, just as shameless. He smoothed things over like a pro, neutralizing my dad's temper. Eventually, thanks to their antics, the marriage was settled. Unlike Dad, Mom was thrilled about Jason, treating him with more affection than me. You'd think he was her son. After Jason left, the doorbell rang again, and I found myself face to face with a worn-out Tom. He looked so different from the confident guy I'd known for nearly 20 years. How could he let himself fall apart like this over a girl? While his family spoke to my dad, Tom and I talked privately. When did it start with her? I asked. 6 months ago, he admitted. I was baffled, throwing everything away for a brief 6-month fling, publicly dumping your childhood sweetheart. Fiona's different from you. She only has me, Tom tried explaining. Furious, I retorted, she has nothing, so it's okay to leave me? What did I do wrong, Tom? Have too much? All these years, I'd never slept in, worked harder than anyone else at piano and horseback riding. I think about this and faced him down. To wear the crown, you bear its weight. Don't belittle my efforts, Tom. That's low. Tom looked torn, muttering, guess it's my fault for betraying you. I was so speechless I wanted to curse someone out, but I held it in. Tom, I never want to see you again. Years of feelings end here. All the youthful heartbeats and companionship mean nothing now. I thought getting engaged to Jason was just a formality. But roses started pouring into my office like a stream. I found Jason's contact hidden in my phone from years ago. After high school graduation, we only exchanged one message. Him, add me as Jason. Me, okay. I called him up. I hate wasting time, so I got straight to the point. What's up with these roses? He said, can't I send my fiancé a few flowers? Dude, I was looking at way more than a few roses. You're really going all out, huh? Anybody would think he genuinely likes me. I send what I want. His voice, as always, was irritatingly smug. But it's not all bad. The louder we are, the less people will talk. I brushed my hand over the fiery roses. I'll take them, but don't try these cheesy tricks on me again. He made a clicking sound. Nina, when have you seen someone use roses flown in this morning from France to fool a lover? And who else has got a partner who's so hard to fool? Hearing Jason's words, only one phrase popped into my head, shameless as hell. I said it out loud before my brain could stop me. Jason chuckled from the other side of the phone. This guy laugh? I hung up immediately. What are you laughing about? At 5 o'clock, I wrapped up my work and headed out the office. The scene outside was lively, and amidst everything, I spotted a familiar figure and that annoyingly bright yellow Ferrari. It had to be Jason. I covered my face and tried to walk on. Nina. Jason's booming voice was for the whole world to hear. I pretended I didn't hear a thing. He was tall, with long legs, and he caught up to me in a few strides, blocking my way. What are you hiding from? I looked up at him, acting cool. Nothing. Nina, don't think I don't know what goes on in your mind. Just like I know him, he can read my thoughts easily. I felt embarrassed by him. What do you want? Shopping. He just wanted to take me shopping? I thought he had something important. Not interested. I turned to leave, but he wrapped his arm around my waist, pulling me into his embrace. Seriously? I was wearing a short skirt today. In the car, after I buckled up, he tossed a jacket over my head. He said smugly, sorry, thought it was cold in here, so you could cover your legs. That's typical Jason. When I got soaked in the rain some years back, he casually threw a huge towel over my head as well. He lounged against the door then. You started a fight with Tom on a rainy day? Wearing a white shirt? What's wrong with your brain? I'm soaking wet because school uniform is a white shirt, not by choice. Jason, you're the one with issues. I threw a pillow at him. Standing there for what? I'm changing. I like to think I'm a calm person, but Jason always manages to push my buttons. Back then, I would have retaliated without a second thought, but since he's driving, I'd better play it safe. He got on my last nerve. Once we arrived and he parked, I tossed his jacket back at him with some serious force. He clutched his chest dramatically. You're ruthless. Quit the act. Why'd you bring me here? He led me to a YSL store, to buy shoes. For some reason, he told the staff, bring every pair of size 37, 10-centimeter heels you have. 3 sales assistants laid out the latest heels in front of me. Buy whatever you like. I wasn't going to hold back, package them all except the green ones. Suddenly a voice caught my attention. One rarely hears that kind of aggressive tone in a fancy store. What's going on here? Can't even find a single pair in the store. The assistant apologized. Sorry, there's only one of that pair in the whole country. You think I can't afford it? Don't judge a book by its cover. We're not judging, it's just out of stock. She'd been pretty yesterday when I last came. Today she just didn't have the attitude to match. When did Jason sneak up beside me? Do you know her? Do you? One of your exes? Lousy taste, man. He sighed. Can't you wish well for once? Who is she then? Fiona. My heart skipped a beat. She marched over confidently. Hi, name your price for these shoes. I'll make it worth your while. Make it worth my while? You can't afford it. I didn't need to say anything. Jason was laughing, practically shaking. I looked at this self-righteous woman. Want the shoes? Name your price. 5,000. Her eyes widened. 5,000? Why not just rob me? That's a $3,000 pair. I scoffed. If 5 grand's too much, why were you even browsing here? That hit a nerve, and she was furious. Who says I can't afford 5 grand? She handed a black card to the staff. Wrap them up. One glance was enough. It was Tom's secondary card. The assistant hesitated, and I motioned for them to go ahead with the transaction. Jason looked curious about my sudden generosity. Being nice today? Of course not. She likes standing out, so why not make her pay for it? But her presence screamed notice me, and seeing Jason with me, she snarked. Nowadays some women think they can hit it big and live a life of luxury without realizing they're just fooling themselves. I'm honestly shocked. A regular naive girl and knowing this truth? But why doesn't she apply it to herself? Jason couldn't stop laughing when he heard, pointing at me, he said, she wants to hang on to my coattails. I wouldn't mind giving her all my cards to hold on to. I was speechless. Jason's kind of dumb sometimes. Fiona wanted to say something but was surprised by Jason's smart appearance and his foolish words. She opened her mouth as if to speak but just ended up giving me a look. I couldn't tell if she thought Jason was dumb or if she thought I was crafty. The salesperson came over holding a card for Fiona. Sorry, this card isn't working. Fiona was shocked. How could that be? The salesperson explained that they tried a few machines. Of course, the card wouldn't work. Last time Tom came to me, his family cut his card right in front of me. It'd be a miracle if it did work. Fiona angrily pointed at the salesperson. Look carefully. This is Tom's card. How can it not work? She tossed the card back to the salesperson and threatened, if you mess up again, I'll have you fired. What a big talker. I chuckled. Can't even get $3,000 on the card? Maybe you're just pretending to be rich. I bet you can't even pay me the $5,000. She couldn't handle the taunt. Who can't afford it? She tried transferring the money via her phone, but it was a struggle. She barely scraped together $5,000 from 3 different cards. It was amusing to watch. But I didn't plan on handing the shoes over anyway. The salesperson was a young girl, probably new, and seemed about to cry. I'm sorry, but the card really won't work. Fiona's face turned pale as if realizing something. I smirked. Now you're remembering that the card got cancelled? A bit late, don't you think? You should have known from the start. She handed over her own bank card to the salesperson. Try this. Soon, the salesperson returned. This card has insufficient funds. Out of money? I told the salesperson, looks like these shoes are meant for me after all. Fiona glared at me. What do you mean? I shrugged. I gave you a chance, but it looks like you couldn't take it. Is it wrong for me to buy them now? Fiona realized I was messing with her and was furious. You tricked me, give me my money back. We had a deal, you pay, and I let you buy. But you can't afford the shoes, so I'm taking them. How's that tricking you? If you had money, you'd have taken them already. It's not my fault you can't. Fiona was seething, her facade completely dropped as she glared at me. I knew someone like Fiona, always craving attention, would come after me eventually. I just didn't expect it to be this quick. Jason and I had just asked the salesperson to wrap all the shoes when Tom showed up, flustered. Upon seeing Tom, Fiona started crying her grievances, looking like she might collapse with a gust of wind. Such a great act. Tom looked uncomfortable but spoke up anyway. Nina, Fiona's different from you. She doesn't have your background. I sneered, so having a good background is my fault? He tried to explain, I mean, she's just naive. So I'm conniving? Tell me, Tom, how have I ever schemed against you? I glared at him. I've never plotted anything against him. I've been nothing but devoted, even leaving him with the umbrella after our rainy argument while I walked away in the rain, naively thinking he'd catch up. But he didn't. I kept hoping he'd catch up by the time I left the building. Still, he didn't. It wasn't until Jason offered to take me to his hotel that I realized Tom wasn't coming. I asked again, so, Tom, what did I ever do to you? Tom stayed silent, unable to reply. What I didn't expect is he'd try to drag Jason into it. Nina, I know I've wronged you. But I hope you find happiness. Jason isn't right for you. For the first time, I saw Jason really frustrated. Tom, when you were accusing my fiancé unreasonably, I was polite enough to give you two space to talk. But speaking badly of me in front of her is just rude. Tom ignored him and continued to plead with me. Nina, he's really not right for you. Jason, realizing words weren't getting through, retorted, and what makes you any better? Leaving your fiancé at your engagement party? What kind of man does that? Supporting someone so questionable? I suggest you open your eyes. Don't mistake fish eyes for pearls, or you'll end up smelling of fish. Tom wasn't one to argue and was tongue-tied. Jason? He was as sharp as ever, with words that stung without resorting to profanity. Tom was at a loss for words. What did I say? She wanted the shoes I was going to buy for my fiancé. Usually, I'd kick such people out. But my fiancé gave her a chance, only to find out she can't even muster up $3,000. Don't shop at luxury stores if you can't afford it. Fiona, trying to look pitiful, said, they just looked so nice. I've never seen shoes so pretty. You want them, buy them. Can't afford them, what, you want a gift? Jason nearly had me in stitches. I knew he was sharp, but this was next level. Tom, exasperated, commented, you're irrational. Jason seized the opportunity, then why don't you buy them for her? Oh, wait, your card's been cut off too. But today, I was in the mood. Jason asked if I wanted anything else, saying just a couple of shoes weren't enough. I pointed at some clothes casually, wrap them up too. Jason smiled as he put an arm around my waist. Honey, don't go easy on me. Who's your honey? He told the salespeople, wrap up all the new arrivals, shoes or bags, I've got money. Then turning to me, don't worry, even if my cards get cut off, I have plenty saved to take care of you. I was surprised by how serious he looked. How much of this was just an act? I felt Jason's hand holding mine, and it was warm, almost too warm. When we left, Fiona and Tom looked pretty upset. Jason, as usual, couldn't resist taking a jab. The shoes you got for Nina on the engagement day didn't fit at all. I ended up carrying her. No worries though, on our wedding day, you're welcome to see what I pick out for her. By the way, you might not know, but she wears a size 37. Sitting in the car with Jason, I suddenly felt a bit uneasy. I used to find him annoying, but now he didn't seem that bad anymore. I cleared my throat and asked the question that had been bugging me for a while. Jason, how did you know I wear a size 37? Ever since the engagement day, I found it weird. The shoes he got me felt super comfortable and just right. Obviously, he knew my size in advance. But we weren't really close before that. Jason began, back in high school, during that rainy day, I picked you up. I couldn't help but be surprised. That rainy day was almost 7 years ago. That year it rained when I went to his hotel suite. Jason had prepared a pair of shoes for me. Looking back now, I can't remember what they looked like, just that they were way bigger than my usual size. He leaned lazily against the doorway, watching me try on the shoes, clearly puzzled by the oversized ones. You're 168 centimeters tall, and your feet are this small? I couldn't help but glare at him. That's a totally normal shoe size. Just because you're tall doesn't mean you have to have size 43 feet like you. Jason replied cheekily, it wouldn't be impossible. Then you could just wear my shoes. No, thanks. Who wants your shoes anyway? Mine always smell sweet. I didn't think much of it back then, just planning to talk things over with Tom after breakfast. Knowing Tom's temper, if we didn't resolve things, who knows how long until we'd be okay again. But unexpectedly, after breakfast, Jason handed me a pair of shoes. They were shiny patent leather with a cute bow decorated with pearls that looked particularly pretty. Change into these, size 37. I'm dropping you at school soon anyway, he said, pointing to my feet. Those shoes are way too big, it's better to walk in these. It was almost 8 o'clock, and I had school activities. If I didn't leave soon, it would be hard to catch Tom. I assured him I could manage, but before I could finish speaking, Jason scooped me up onto the sofa. I stared at him, bewildered. Jason, what are you doing? He grabbed my ankle. I'm not some idle person. I was in a daze until the moment he helped me put on those shoes. That day didn't feel particularly significant then, but looking back, it was the first time I didn't reach out to talk things over with Tom. It's been close to 7 years since high school. I teased Jason, you remember pretty clearly. I thought he'd argue or say something back, but instead, he suddenly went quiet. Nina, he stopped abruptly. Forget it. I looked at him, confused. What's with stopping halfway? Just say it. He gave me a complex look. Nothing. Just thought you're being silly. I couldn't help but roll my eyes at him. Just zip it. The happiest about Jason dropping me home was definitely my mom. Women can be so into looks. She didn't like Tom this much, but when she saw Jason, she beamed like a flower. Ridiculous. Jason unloaded things from the car one by one. Auntie, these are all for health and beauty, but I think I brought the wrong stuff. You're already stunning, so this might be unnecessary. My mom beamed even more. You're too kind, Jason. Just having you here makes me happy. I looked at these two being all polite and fake with each other, feeling disgusted. My mom shot me a cold look, which through years of experience, I knew meant I should keep quiet. Then my mom welcomed Jason with a smile again, changing her expression faster than I've ever seen in my 24 years. I glanced at my dad. His face remained neutral, which was surprising given his previous strong opposition. I went over to him. Dad, what did Mom give you? I'll give you 10 times that to mess with Jason a bit. Dad looked at me like I had lost it. For about half a month after Jason and I parted, we hadn't met, but it felt like he was always around. There was a steady stream of roses at the office every day. Plus, non-stop messages on my phone. He'd tell me what he did today, who he met, and which women tried to get his contact, but how he righteously refused, claiming he already had a loving wife at home. Seeing the words loving wife, I couldn't help but call him shameless. In the office, Countless red roses stood in vases, arranged against the wall in a row, adding life to the minimalist space. Jane came into my office, giving a knowing glance at the roses on my desk. So, back together? I denied it quickly. Nope. No need to lie, the smile on your face says it all. Clearly, something's going on. You know it's Jason. How could I like him? Jane, having grown up with me, knew about what's between Jason and me. I thought it was unlikely, but Nina, you realize how obvious your smile is when you reply to him on Instagram? My finger paused on the phone's surface. Jason's teasing from our chat was on my mind. I wanted to deny it but couldn't bring myself to say it out loud. Because the truth was, someone had slipped into my life without me even realizing. Boldly and without holding back. That night Jason suggested taking me to dinner with his friends. Remembering what Jane said at noon, I refused immediately. There was no way I was into him. The more I thought about it, the harder it was to accept. I called Jane to go out to a bar. Maybe I just needed a guy in my life right now, hence the unwarranted thoughts about Jason. Jane was chatting energetically with a couple of guys, occasionally nudging me. You're the one who wanted to find a guy at the bar, yet here you are, drinking alone. Honestly, nothing wrong with liking Jason. I immediately denied it. I don't like him. She sheepishly said, fine, you don't like it, why keep the long face then? Who's got a long face? It's just the drink tastes bad. And what's the big deal about men? They're everywhere. I put down the drink and took a somewhat handsome guy to go clubbing. Just as we stepped out of the room, the opposite door opened too. A group of people came out, but you couldn't ignore those eyes staring at me in the dim light. My heart skipped a beat. Jason, why is he here? The guy beside me fanned the flames without realizing. Why stop walking? Are your feet hurting? I can carry you. I can't believe it. Jason looked at me with a sarcastic smile. Somebody told me they're binge watching from episode 1 to 666 tonight at home. See, I'm done watching. Pretty quick, huh? I replied awkwardly, well, not really. Like hell. Jason was supposed to be having dinner with friends, wasn't he? Maybe things felt too weird between us. The guy beside me pulled my sleeve and asked, who is he? Jason's face turned terrifyingly dark. Yeah, who am I? I reluctantly introduced, my fiancé. The guy suddenly understood, oh, he's your brother. Hi, brother. Jason's face instantly turned pitch black. If I'm not wrong, Jason is pissed. I haven't gotten a text from him in 3 days. I opened the chat app, typing and deleting messages. In the end, I deleted them all and threw my phone aside, whatever. Not like we're in any serious relationship. Why would he be mad? Maybe he doesn't even care about me. The alarm on my phone went off, reminding me of the restaurant reservation. I planned to thank him for standing up for me against Tom at the YSL store last time. But I guess I'm going alone now. I didn't expect to run into Tom and Fiona at the restaurant. I intended to just ignore them. No need to let scum and a drama queen ruin my mood. But Fiona just had to call out to me, sis. I smiled. Even if you count 100 generations back, you still couldn't call me sister. Fiona's face immediately drooped. But her acting was on point. She quickly apologized, looking pitiful. My bad, I just wanted to apologize for last time. I was too out of line. It's almost been a month. Apologizing now is a bit too late, don't you think? Fiona looked helplessly at Tom. Tom looked awkward. Nina, she didn't mean it. Don't make things hard for her. You got it twisted. She was the one blocking me. Fiona bowed her head. My mistake. Tom embraced her, eyes filled with a care I've never seen for me. Seeing this affectionate display suddenly stirred up an emotion inside me. I thought I'd moved past it. How childish. But seeing him look after Fiona so meticulously, not even bothering to find out the truth. Recounting all these years, he's never treated me this way. I found it all so ironic. Tom, I always thought you were just cold and aloof. You watched calmly when I lost my temper in that rainy day argument. When I refused to forgive you, you thoughtlessly apologized. Even when meeting my folks, you were just polite and courteous. We were childhood sweethearts, growing up together. Yet your shielding hand in front of Fiona was a slap across my face. Turns out you can be passionate too. You'll go all out to protect someone. Just not for me. Tom's eyes flashed with hesitation and regret. Nina, I didn't want to hurt either of you. Not hurt anyone. The moment you dumped me at our engagement, you threw me into despair. That's what you call not hurting? I took a deep breath. I don't know if you're truly clueless or just playing dumb. Do I seem like I don't get relationships? Do you think my excitement seeing you in high school was fake? Do I not feel wronged? Do you think my heart doesn't ache? Did you ever think of me when you chose her, when you defended her? I really want to know, will my genuine feelings never get me sincerity in return? He blinked. Been waiting long. What are you doing here? A familiar voice cut in. Before I knew it, I was enveloped in a broad embrace, looking up to see that small mole under his eye. He seemed casual, but his words were full of sarcasm. Take so long because of getting tangled with trash? He shot Fiona a glance, and a non-recyclable type. When it comes to dissing, I've always admired Jason. Well done. Fiona pitifully clung to Tom's sleeve. It's my fault, don't argue over me. Jason dismissed her with disdain. Is this the place for you to talk? Tom looked displeased. Jason, don't overdo it. I couldn't hold back. Overdoing it is unlike what you do. Tom was left speechless by my words. Fiona interrupted. Don't blame Tom. It was my initiative, I did wrong. Glad you're self-aware. I know you look down on me, thinking I'm beneath Tom because of my family background. But I truly adore him. I don't care about being criticized. I just don't want you to misunderstand. To Tom, you're like an important sister. My goodness, the way this manipulative woman speaks, it's almost applause-worthy. So expertly washing herself clean of any blame while playing everyone. Do you think we're clueless? Fiona, do you really think we don't know what you've been up to? You really think I can't uncover the truth? She tried to remain calm, but the panic on her face was undeniable. What are you saying? I looked at her mockingly. Am I not clear enough? Oh, maybe the name Fiona doesn't ring a bell for you, but Jane might. Upon hearing that name, Fiona turned ghostly pale. Since running into Tom at YSL that day, I'd looked into Fiona. As expected, she wasn't innocent. Married at 18, swindled her husband, fled to study abroad under a new name. Left her ex in massive debt. Tom's eyes were filled with disbelief. Fiona, you? Tom, it's not true, they're framing me. I used to think as long as that girl didn't bug me, I wouldn't bother even if she's hanging with Tom. I mean, it's not my problem if Tom gets burned. But she's one of those who just loves stirring things up, using guys to fulfill her vanity. Defamation? Should I send Tom a copy of your marriage certificate with your ex? Plus, there's the proof of your past pregnancy termination. If that's not enough, I'll bring your ex and friends over for a face-off. Fiona, I've got all the time to play with you, just wonder if you can keep up. Tom looked totally confused. Jason, with a sharp jab, said, Tom, didn't I warn you to not mistake a fish-eye for a pearl? Now see the mess. He put his arm around my waist and turned to leave. But then Tom called out behind me, Nina, Jason's no good. He's been after you since high school. What's he up to now? I turned back to Jason, puzzled. What? There's one thing you're wrong about. Jason looked straight into my eyes. I've never had bad intentions. I genuinely like you. I blinked, feeling like fireworks were going off inside me. My mind was a total blur. I wasn't even sure how I ended up getting in Jason's car. Trying to act casual, I cleared my throat. when did you start liking me? Jason paused, his voice a bit raspy. A long time. Longer than that rainy day in senior year. I wasn't sure how I felt, warm inside, but with a lump in my throat. It's like while I was fixated on following someone else's steps, someone else was following mine. I felt kinda lame. Too full of myself, stubborn. Ignoring advice, missing out on a lot without even realizing it. Nina, the you I love, is always proud and confident, with that never-give-up spirit. Even when meeting a jerk, she can pull away to cut her losses, always staying sharp. She's no loser. She's a princess. My face instantly heated up. I tried hard to stop my smile from getting bigger. But then Jason totally killed the mood with his next line. He said, "But there is one thing you're really not great at. Spit it out." I replied with a sarcastic smile, ready to skin him alive with another word. "You can't act cute." "What? Being cutesy? How would I know how to do that?" He chuckled. "It's fine. I can teach you. A big guy like you teaching me to be cutesy? What a joke." Jason nodded, a big grin on his face. "I'd teach you, like this." Slowly, Jason leaned in closer, a playful glint in his eyes making his face slightly blush. His deep voice asked, "Can I kiss you?" Before I could answer, he brushed his lips lightly against mine. My mind went blank for a second. Though we're the same age, Jason is 2 days younger than me. Senior year, after a fight with Tom, I stormed out in the rain. I regretted it the moment I stepped out, especially after getting doused a few times. The fire was all gone. Just then, I saw Jason with an umbrella coming out of the school building. When he passed me, I shamelessly ducked under his umbrella. "What are you doing?" I barely knew Jason then, and because of Tom, I'd treated him with hostility. But when I'm upset, I like causing trouble for no reason. "Nothing, it's raining, just sharing the umbrella." I thought he'd be speechless by my shamelessness, but instead, he handed me the umbrella and walked off. Though I was just causing trouble, I still had a conscience. The rain was heavy, and even though I wouldn't stand there getting soaked, it didn't feel right to take his umbrella. I chased him, intending to return it, but he dodged me like I was plague-stricken, staying 3 feet away. Hell, I wasn't a walking disease, and his reputation was worse than mine anyway. Upset, I shamelessly shouted, "Hey, little brother." That got his attention. He frowned. "Who are you calling little brother?" Jason was 2 days younger than me. "You are. Even if by just 2 days, you're still younger." He awkwardly lifted my backpack. "Don't call me that." Jason gave a brief peck and pulled back. I held my breath. "Don't suffocate yourself." Covering my mouth, I muttered, "Why'd you kiss me without warning?" He swallowed, his voice husky. "Can I kiss you again, my princess?" I nodded slightly. Before Jason and I got married, Tom had already broken up with Fiona. It ended pretty ugly, with Tom's family taking legal actions and even dragging her and her ex-husband to court. What a mess. Tom would come to my place often with gifts, like back when he was my fiancé. Is there no end to his shamelessness? When Jason found out, he moved in with me. Watching my mom warmly arrange a room for Jason shocked me. "Mom, did Jason put some spell on you?" "Quit saying nonsense." "But, you never did this for Tom." "Are they the same?" I couldn't figure out how Jason won Mom over. She kicked Tom out without a second thought. She put down a quilt. "Remember when you got sick after getting caught in the rain during high school?" Of course, that story's been coming up a lot lately. Almost worn out at this point. "You fainted at school from the fever. That very night, only one person came to see you." "Who?" I had no memory of this. "Jason. I'm telling you, he was funny about it. He was really there to see you, but said a teacher sent him to bring your homework." "How could he, with his poor grades, bring homework for you? None of the books he brought from his backpack were yours." "And My mind wandered back to that day. Fighting with Tom over something petty. I liked him enough to leave an umbrella during our fight. Then bumped into Jason, and went to the club with him. Next day, trying to make up with Tom, I went to the school club, barely changed shoes in the classroom, and fainted from the fever caught in the rain. Tom, busy as the student council president and music club head, didn't have time to check on me. But I didn't expect someone silently watching over me all along. To me, that was just another ordinary day in life, washed away by time. But looking back now, that small forgotten event mattered more than I realized. The doorbell rang. I opened the door. Jason stood there, looking all full of life. He said, "Princess, I'm here."